Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I have body dysmorphia.
I have body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
I'm Sophie Iliff, and this is Behind the Mind of Body Dysmorphia. Body dysmorphic disorder is a serious mental illness and affects 1 in every 100 people. It demands attention which can disrupt your life in more ways than you know. BDD can cause a lot of stress and negatively impact a person's day-to-day performance. Mia Hill, youth advocate for the Body Dysmorphia Foundation, has experienced this disorder firsthand and wants to spread awareness of this condition.
It's like you've got these glasses and you're looking through them and it's like a distorted reality. It's almost like you have a bird on your shoulder that's whispering these lies, and it's so convincing. I would take 30 long videos every day sometimes and then analyse them afterwards, every single frame. It was debilitated, I wasn't living.
It affects 2% of the world population and can sometimes be seen as an invisible condition. But a lot of people don't seem to have much knowledge on the subject and wonder what it actually is. Chris Tronson has a unique perspective of understanding BDD from both a personal experience and from the viewpoint of a therapeutic practitioner.
Gained some weight over the pandemic and really don't like how they look in a bathing suit and feel very self-confident. That's not what body dysmorphic disorder is. BDD is a completely different beast, and the best way I can explain it to people is when you know somebody with anorexia, you look at them and they're like skin and bones, and they look like they're like very close to being, passing out, being unhealthy, malnourished, and potentially dead. And when you talk to that individual, they will look you straight in the face and say, I am overweight. And you just are so confused. How can they see something so different? What body dysmorphic disorder is it's very similar to that. Typically the neck up, but it can be anywhere on the body, and it's where we with BDD literally look in the mirror and we see ourselves differently.
In this documentary, we'll uncover 3 various topics which have been of discussion recently online. We'll discuss the differences between eating disorders and body dysmorphia, how this is affected between both male and females, and finally we'll also look into some of the myths that have been made online about BDD. Alex Aguela, a hypnotherapist who specialises in helping people with BDD, shared with me one of her recent experiences with suffering from this herself.
One of the things that would make me the most uncomfortable with my BDD was taking full body pictures or video. And so my entire life I've basically been avoiding those 2 things. And today I was thinking, okay, I need to take full body photos because I don't have updated photos of myself. And I decided to go through the process, and as I'm standing there in front of the camera, for no reason really, because I had just done my makeup, I felt good about myself, I just started crying. And I'm talking about tears just rolling down my eyes. And there was a moment where I felt defeated, and I thought, man, I've been working so hard on this, why is it triggering me this much? And I came to recognize that it was triggering me this way because it's just a response that my body was used to.
Dr. Suzanne Moulton-Odom discusses what it can look like from an outside perspective and how loved ones or friends can notice when someone is going through this.
They find to be disgusting or unpleasant. And it's diagnosed when it's usually unusual, like nobody else would look at that aspect of their body and think anything of it. Maybe it's a mole on their face or their nose, or sometimes it has to do with weight or musculature. But the person becomes very focused on this aspect of their appearance and then engages in behaviors, sometimes checking behaviors, repeated checking during the day, to see if the behavior has, if the part of the body has changed or what it looks like.
Dominic Edwards is a known inspirational speaker for this specific condition and spoke during a conference about his route to recovery and what it took.
I was finally put in touch with the Maudsley Hospital that specialised in BDD, which is where Dr. Veal and his colleagues diagnosed me and planned out my treatment. Antidepressants were prescribed to me to stop the obsessional thinking and the behaviours that accompanied them, in conjunction with an intensive course of CBT. This involved essentially facing my worst fears and reducing the safety behaviours that I believe kept me safe.
A common misconception of body dysmorphia is that it's the same as an eating disorder, and yet this isn't the case. Much like an eating disorder, controlling a part of your body can be a part of BDD. Speaking to Cameron Good, who's been affected by both anorexia and body dysmorphia, it gives us a more in-depth viewpoint of a comparison between the two conditions.
Eating disorder obviously it can be very similar, and they can be both hard, because with body dysmorphia, a lot of it is it's up in your head, and it's how you see yourself. It's picking up these imperfections that you find within yourself. But the way to work on struggling with these imperfections is to accept your imperfections, and the way for acceptance is to learn about yourself.
An eating disorder is a way of feeling in control of yourself through means of restricting, purging, binging, multiple different avenues involving food and thought to help feel control, and a way to feel happy within yourself by changing yourself.
Anorexic thoughts, so the thought of eating less to help myself look different, to feel better about myself by thinking that others will see me in a better light. When you lose weight, when you fit a certain physical shape or have certain aspects of your body that are more desirable, such as a flat chest or bigger arms, or maybe not abs but like a flat, not having a belly. It's that restrictive aspect of eating less food and exercising more to ensure that you're in those calorie deficits, that you're in those toning of the body to make yourself feel better by thinking that you look better.
Many studies have shown that there is a major link between the two conditions, in the sense that they can sometimes both involve how a person judges their own body. But the way they try to fix the problem is normally the main difference. Eating disorders result in restriction of eating, binging, or throwing up which is already being consumed, whereas BDD can have many different aspects of fixing the problem, such as picking, cosmetic surgery, or sometimes restriction of eating. At least 9% of the global population is or has been affected by an eating disorder, and the overall symptoms between the two can be very similar, with side effects being depression or just feeling lonely.
I think with an eating disorder, especially for me, it's the idea of being liked and being accepted. And the way to feel acceptance with an eating disorder, you think, is to fit a certain type. Look at who's popular in the world and try and be like them. Look who's popular in just any environment and see how they are and try and become that. And that can come through looking how they look. So a lot of obviously in social media, a lot of the people you see are these like superheroes that are big, muscular, or have hardly any fat on them. The hero in the movie is always a skinny guy or a guy that's well toned and has very little fat on them. So with that, it kind of puts the ideal of, for me to be accepted, I need to look like that. For me to be popular, for me even to be loved and have anyone. It's very much a lonely feeling, and a feeling that is going to be your life forever. You're going to be alone forever because no one's going to accept you, no one's going to like you, no one does like you. You need to make sure you look this way. You need to make sure that you fit the type that is popular to ensure that you're not going to be alone forever. Best way to help yourself is to go and get help from a professional, because I think getting advice off someone who has a more deep knowledge, a deeper understanding, who's worked with people that also have body dysmorphia, really can help you and can really make a difference, because you're not alone in doing this. There's plenty of people in the world that struggle with it. I've been able to notice that there's other people, there's helplines that literally make all the difference. You see people's stories. So, the advice you gotta know is that you're not alone in this. You got plenty of people who are going through the same issues you are, but the way to help these issues is to go out and get some type of professional help, because it really does make all the difference.
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Dysmorphia.
A study named by Aga Khan University in Pakistan showed that the male to female ratio for BDD was 1.7. Out of 156 students, 57.1% were female. A total of 78.8% of the students reported dissatisfaction with some aspects of their appearance. In regard to the top reported concerns in males, 34.3% said it was their head hair, 32.8% was weight concern, and both skin and nose were raised by 14.9%. Comparing this to what females were significantly more concerned about was their weight more than anything else. Other concerns were skin and teeth. Men were to be seen to be more preoccupied with bodybuilding, genitals and hair thinning, but had more of a tendency to either stay single or even turn to alcohol abuse as a solution, whereas women were more likely to receive non-psychiatric medical and surgical treatment. Lewis Hines has been going to the gym for the past 2 years to help with his low esteem. When speaking to him, he elaborates as to why he thinks there were more women than men in the statistics.
When you look at the facts and figures, a lot of cases on body dysmorphia are women, and there's not a lot of men that speak up. And I do believe that this is a large problem, as men don't tend to speak up about their own mental health issues. A lot of men don't go to speak to therapists and keep these things bottled up, which can actually make things worse as well. For example, from my own personal experience, I didn't talk to anyone for quite some time, and I'd look in the mirror and not like how I was, and every time I'd walk past a mirror I'd dislike my body. And I really think opening up to a therapist and up to family and friends or anyone can really help. And I do believe that men should do this more often, as it's almost seen as a unmanly thing to do, whereas really I think it's quite the opposite. I was recently talking to a friend from
reimagined,
school, and he had told me about how he also suffered with body dysmorphia, and it really did help opening up to each other as well about that, and I think it was helpful for him. And this sort of free and open conversation should really happen more often. So I really do believe that if more men spoke up about suffering from body dysmorphia or anything else, then the cases might actually equal female cases. As a lot of men look up to a lot of models now on social media and famous people who are really toned after working out for several years, or maybe even steroid use or anything like that, and it's not helpful for mental health. But don't get me mistaken, the gym is also a great way of helping improve your mental health and thoughts about your own body.
Once going to the gym, Lewis explained that it helped in a lot of ways, but he did have to make some adjustments to his lifestyle that would stop him making work in different aspects.
One of the things that greatly helped me with my body dysmorphia was going to the gym, and I've now been doing this for 2 years, and I constantly gain more self-confidence every day. But before I started going to the gym, I used to look in the mirror quite a lot, and every time I'd look I wouldn't be happy with myself. I'd constantly compare myself to others of unreasonable standards, and just in general let it affect my mental health quite greatly, to the point where I'd get quite obsessive at looking at myself and not being very happy. So when I started to work out and I started to get into a good routine, started seeing improvements, it really helped with my mental health. However, it's not all great. I still do compare myself to others, which isn't always healthy, but it's something I can't help. But the more I open up about it, the less I find myself comparing myself to others. And I've been trying to get others into a similar mindset as well. So talking with friends that I now go to the gym with, and I've helped sort of build their self-confidence up as well. they sort of feel the same way, and it really does help me view myself in a different and better way. And if I had to give any advice on anyone starting a similar sort of journey, going to the gym and trying to better themselves, I would say just talk to others as well, because you might find you have a lot of things in common that you can help each other with.
The Body Dysmorphic Disorder Foundation has also expressed concerns about a lot of men hiding their emotions and not wanting to come forward, meaning they can't get the help they need.
And their worries, and we think that a lot of men do suffer with BDD, but are more scared to come out and sort of talk about it.
Whilst looking into what affects those who suffer from BDD, it also must be considered the speculations that are made around this condition. Just like anything else that's made its way onto social media, a lot of fake news have been spread by those who don't understand the condition, or even by those who aren't willing to understand and post it primarily just to gain attention. Next, we're going to look into some different myths that have become a stereotype in the history of body dysmorphia. One of the main myths that has been spread about this condition is that complimenting the person will improve their negative mindset. Dr. Roberto Olivarida has been treating patients in the US for the past 20 years and has had this to say.
People with BDD, on one hand, you would think that what would be helpful for them is to be someone telling them, you look fine, you look great, what are you talking about? It often doesn't get absorbed to that person because they're like, yeah, if you saw me up close, or if you saw me without makeup on, or if you saw this, if this, and this, you would see it the way that I see it. And body image is it's a very interesting phenomena because it's not psychosis when we have these sort of body image distortions, although you can see psychotic thinking in BDD, but it's not a psychotic disorder. Body image is this kind of complex interplay of our attitudes about the way we look, the social cultural imagery of what we think we should look like, all of these kinds of things. So if we see ourselves a certain way and somebody is telling us that we look fine, aka we look different than how we see ourselves, there's a dilemma there, right? The dilemma is, well, either I'm wrong and I'm not perceiving myself correctly, or they're wrong. And it's almost like more human nature. We want to see ourselves as rational, even though it would be better in some ways for a person to think, well, at the end of the day, I don't want to feel ugly, so it'd be better for me to almost buy into that this other person's perception of me is accurate. But I think it's human nature. We want to see ourselves as rational. And so people end up thinking, no, the way I'm seeing myself is the correct way. So there's that rigidity and with the body image distortions. The second is the amount of value that somebody...
When listening to what BDD actually entails, it's very easy to think that you can come under this category and think of it as simply just body dissatisfaction. And yet they seem to forget the obsessive, compulsive side to this issue. The compulsive side is just the same as any other addiction, and people who have felt it will know just how intense it can be. When speaking to Mia Hill from the BDD Foundation, she explains how not everyone can come under this specific category.
There's a lot within BDD that I think people will just, I think there's a lot of easily thrown around. I think even on TikTok and just in maybe the younger generation, but it's very easy to say, oh, I've got body dysmorphia, when it might be about their weight, or they might be cautious about something in their appearance. But I think when you're spending 8+ hours sort of obsessing over the perceived flaw, that's when it's considered the disorder, it's an illness.
Another misconception would be that the main contribution is purely from a vanity outlook, whereas this is actually the polar opposite to what the majority of people actually experience. If you have listened to this and know this relates to you, remember there is help out there. You've just got to make the first move. You can call 0808 801 0677 or text SHOUT to 85258 and start your process today. This was Behind the Mind of Body Dysmorphia, presented by myself, Sophie Iliff.